Alright guys, today we're here in the Element and we're going to focus on taking the center section of the dash apart. Alright guys, so today I want to focus on working on taking this center section of the dash out. So a couple reasons. I have some light bulbs in the back that are not working anymore. I want to take a look at those, as well as I want to add some added functionality to the console, such as a USB charging port and maybe a couple other things. So let's go ahead and get that taken apart and we can see what we can install. So the first step here is going to be removing the stereo unit and this surround piece. So this surround piece is removed here. There's two little indentations here, one on each side. And once we get that removed, we can go ahead and uninstall the stereo. Alright, so you'll see that I took the stereo out as well. Basically that's going to be in the way, but it's just these 4 screws. You can either use Phillips or I believe it's a 10mm head, maybe 8. I use the Phillips head, not a big deal. But 4 screws, take your stereo out, unplug it, unplug the antenna, unplug the main connector, and then if you have anything else like a microphone or something like that. Once everything's unplugged and out of the way, you can expose these small metal clips that are in this corner, and that'll help you release the whole. So here in the corner are these small little metal clips right here. It's right in the back. It's very difficult to see right there, and there's one on either side. So once you push this clip in, you should be able to pry the whole section around here off and out. So let's go ahead and get working on that. Alright, so now that we got everything off, you can see on the back here there's 3 plugs. One at the top for your airbag light, one in the middle for your climate control, and one at the bottom for your hazard switch. Once those 3 are disconnected and you got everything popped off, it should come right out. So I'm going to take this inside into the garage and I'm going to take a look a little closer to see what kind of modifications I can do and which bulbs need to be fixed. Alright guys, so we're back here in the garage. I have a flathead screwdriver, just a little one like this. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to remove each of these bulb housings. They twist lock in, and you can see on the back here that it's kind of noted which way it is. It's still your general righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. So go ahead and start removing them one at a time. Sometimes they just come out. Sometimes you have to loosen them and then flip it over. So I'm going to go ahead and get them all loose, and then we'll go ahead and flip this over and pull all the bulbs out. So you may not be able to see this because they're super small, but each bulb is kind of like attached to a long lead and housing. There's 3 bigger ones and 3 smaller ones. So I'm going to go ahead and look into getting replacements for these. I do want to replace all of them because I don't want to have to take this apart multiple times, but in the meantime, I can go ahead and start looking to see what I can get done on this center console and what I can add. Alright guys, so I'll hold this up here so you can take a look, but basically this is something that I picked up on Amazon. They're relatively cheap. You can find them all over the place in different configurations. Sometimes they'll come with a switch, but this particular one came with a 2 USB port, your regular cigarette lighter, and it also came with a voltage meter. So I'm not sure if I'm going to use all 3 of these. I at least want to put the USB section in, but I may also find a spot for the voltage meter. So I'm going to go ahead and take a look and lay it out here and see what I come up with as far as where I want to mount everything. So the nice thing about these is if you look at the back, they're all just ringed in, so you can separate them and you can use them as 3 different, or you can use the mounting plate. So I'm going to go ahead and take this apart and see where I want to lay it out on the center console. Alright, in order to lay this out, I'm basically going to use this ring as a bit of a template for how much the hole is going to be. So it's about the same size as the hazard switch, so I kind of want to lay it out almost identical just on the other side here. So I'm going to use this as a little bit of a spacer. I know I have a little bit of extra space there, but I just want to make sure that I have this exactly where I want it. And I think that's a good spot. So what I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put a little punch mark right in the center. And then I can use that as the center point for where I'm going to put my hole. Alright guys, so as you can see, we got our USB set up. It's pretty much in almost an identical spot. I didn't measure it. I'm not too worried about it. I wanted it just to be close enough so it didn't look like it was way off. I usually use a automatic setter punch right here. This is something you can get from Harbor Freight or online or anything like that. And then I use a smaller drill bit first, kind of as a pilot hole, just to make sure that everything's centered, and then I go and move to my Unibit. So my Unibit is basically what I like, whether I'm putting in a switch or any kind of other circular accessory. You can go one step at a time. You can get bigger steps, smaller steps, unless you know exactly which size it is, especially when I'm doing a lot of switches and stuff where the sizes can vary from one piece to the next. So I do use that a lot. So now the next step is to get our bulbs back in and then find power for this USB port. Alright guys, so we have everything here back in, all the bulbs. We've added our wires for the USB socket. You can see we have an inline fuse for power, and basically we just need to find power and ground. So ground can go to the chassis, and power can be gotten from a lot of places. So let's go ahead and go back into the car and take a look to see where we can pick up some power from. Alright guys, so we're back in the car. There's plenty of places to get power from. So you could probably get it from your radio, you could probably get it from the heater controls, you can get it from your hazard lights. So there is a lot of power in here, but probably the best place to get it is under your dash here. So if we look right here, that's your fuse box. I was looking at the fuse box layout real quick, and there is a front accessory circuit which does run off 15 amps. So I think what I'm gonna do is use an add a circuit fuse adapter and tap into that to add power to my circuit. Alright guys, we're back here underneath with the fuse box. You can see this contraption I have on the left. Basically what that is that adds a circuit from where a fuse is. So that 10 amp fuse, or that red one, is the stock fuse. Basically what you do is you unplug that, you plug the new one in, and then you plug the old fuse back in on the lower one, and the new fuse and circuit are that top level. So it's a 10 amp fuse. It runs a rear accessory port, which is actually a constant. I am gonna try running this as a constant so that if I do want to charge my phone while the car is off, it will still work. I also thought about maybe putting a switch so it was switched. If not, I may switch it to an ignition. If you see those 3 15 amp fuses up there in the top right corner of the fuse box, one of those is your front accessory. I can easily run off of that as well. So basically what I'm doing is I'm breaking power off here on this red wire, and that runs all the way up. And then if you can see that bolt right behind the red wire, see if I can focus on that a little bit, over here. So back over here, this bolt I'm using as a ground. So I just kept the ring terminal that came, and that is bolted through to a metal bracket. So that is creating a ground. So you can see if you follow these wires all the way up, I have gotten everything back in place, and the USB is on, and it is currently charging my phone. So we are good. I'm gonna go ahead and throw this radio back in, and then we can button it all up. All right guys, so everything is back together. You can see the radio is back home. Everything is put in its place, and the USB is on. There's a little blue light, not sure if you can see it on the video, but there's a little blue light that indicates that the USB is running. Like I said earlier, I do have it connected to a constant currently. It's a little easier for testing and seeing if it works, but at the same time, it's kind of nice to be able to charge my phone while the car's not running. But I'm not super worried about draining the battery, but I don't drive the car very often, so I am worried about charging it back up. So if I do find out that this isn't working, I can switch it to a ignition switch circuit, or I can add my own switch. I was also thinking about adding that voltage meter in some spot, as well as I do have the extra cigarette lighter. So I don't really have a use for a cigarette lighter. Most of the time if I'm using a cigarette lighter, I'm just adding USBs anyway, but it's something good to have around the house if I ever need it. I might add it to either this car or another car. Speaking of this car, I am doing the front and rear suspension at some point, as well as the front lower control arms. Just trying to get everything set on this car, since I do plan on having it for a while. And it's another way to just generate some good content. So feel free to shoot me some comments if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or even if you just want to comment on how I'm doing. Any feedback is great, but other than that, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next video.
never quit, do it right, play the game, win it life, have no shame, there's no time, feel the pain, live the grind, I could change, in my mind, pick a lane, commit and climb, the only way to win it life, I never miss, that's fact, taking big swings, bitch, hand me